Thank you for turning to page 121. Today we're going to take a look at True Seeing, both the spell from the player's handbook and the magic item, the gem of True Seeing, out of the Dungeon Master's Guide. And we're going to look at them in that order. And it's because that's the publication order. This was out in 78, this was in 79. And we're going to take a look at how the spell is not the same as the gem and vice versa. Also today, come on, you know the drill, you know the S word I'm about to say, subscribe. Come on, let's get some more subscriptions in here. Also, I have an active Patreon going on right now with rewards, so take a look at that, and if it's something you can help out with, help me improve the channel a little bit, I'd greatly appreciate it. But that's it, the end of the commercial. Today we're going to take a look at, from the Player's Handbook and the Dungeon Master's Guide, we're going to take a look at True Seeing. Okay, True Seeing. We're going to take a look. It's a 5th level cleric spell out of the Player's Handbook. Here she is on page 50. So we're going to take a look at what True Seeing the spell gives you, and then we're going to look at the Gem of Seeing and see what that does for you. So as I said, it's a 5th level spell, 8-segment casting time. It lasts 1 round per level, and it affects 120-foot sight range. So basically, as you look out, and that's going to depend on illumination, things like this. This spell does not let you see in the dark. When the cleric employs the spell, all things within the area of True Seeing effect appear as they are. Secret doors become plain. The exact location of displaced things is obvious. Invisible things and those which are astral or ethereal become quite visible. Illusions and apparitions are seen through. Polymorphed, changed, or magicked things are apparent. Even the aura projected by creatures become visible, so the cleric is able to know whether they are good or evil or in between. And the spell requires an ointment for the eyes. The ointment is made from very rare mushroom powder, saffron, and fat. The reverse of the spell, false seeing, causes the person to see things as they are not. Rich being poor, rough, smooth, beautiful, ugly. The ointment for the reverse spell is concocted from oil, poppy dust, and pink orchid essence. For both spells, the ointment must be aged 1 to 6 months. So kind of a lot to unpack there. Basically, what the True Seeing allows is you see things as they are. When the cleric employs the spell, all things within the area of True Seeing effect appear as they actually are. So this would be if somebody's wearing a hat of disguise and they're appearing to be an old peasant guy, and True Seeing was used, you would see him for the, hidden assassin that he is. We also rule, because all things appear as they are, that mundane disguises are seen through as well. So if you have somebody who is using the assassin ability to disguise themselves, that will be seen by virtue of this spell. That's kind of a big deal, because you get to see who this person, what he really looks like, through the disguise. Exact location of displaced things is obvious, so if you're fighting a creature with a cloak of displacement, you see exactly where they are while under the effect of the spell. 1 round per level. Now, since this is a 5th level spell, you have to be 9th level to cast it, so you'll have 9 rounds minimum on this. And polymorph, changed, and magic things are apparent, and the aura projected by creatures is visible. So you can see if they're good, evil, or neutral. The only thing that would block this would be something like an amulet of proof or detection location. So pretty interesting that this spell allows you to see things as they actually are. You can see secret doors with this spell. You can see through mundane disguises. You can see through polymorph, and you see things all that are out of place or illusions. So incredibly useful spell that I don't see taken at my table a lot, which has always surprised me, because when I play a cleric, which is a very rare event, when I'm up that high level, I don't think I only have one cleric who's high enough to actually pick this spell. I do take True Seeing. I think it's an excellent spell, and I think it's an important one for a player to have. And I think a lot of the reason this spell does not get taken is the mistaken belief that a Gem of Seeing is just as good. So now we go to the Dungeon Master's Guide, and we're going to open up to the Gem of Seeing. Now, this is one of my favorite magic items. I enjoy giving out a Gem of Seeing. It's got good and bad components to it, as I'll go into. Oh, one other thing on the reverse of the True Seeing spell. I have never ever seen the reverse used because, as a DM, because there has to be a special ointment applied to the eyes, as a DM, I would rule that you would have to actually smear the stuff on the guy's eyes as you cast the spell. It is a touch spell, but in this case, touch is you have to touch him in the eyes with the ointment on your fingers. I've never seen the spell used in reverse. I've been struggling since I started researching this video as to what you would use the reverse spell for, and I'm darned if I come up with an idea. So if anybody's ever used the reverse of that spell or has a good reason why you'd want to reverse it, please let me know. I haven't figured it out. So now the gem of seeing, which I often call the gem of true seeing. It is simply a gem of seeing. It's worth 2,000 experience points when given out. And yes, we give out experience points for magic items. One of these finely cut and polished stones is normally indistinguishable from a jewel of the ordinary sort, although detect magic will reveal its duomer. When gazed through, the gem of seeing enables the user to detect all hidden, illusory, invisible, astral, ethereal, or out-of-phase things within viewing range. Peering through the crystal is time-consuming and tedious. The viewing range of the gem is 30 inches, 300 feet, for a cursory glance. Obvious things can be seen in that case, and 100 feet if small things are to be seen. Requires 1 round to scan 200 square feet in a cursory manner, and 2 rounds for 100 square feet in a careful way. There's a 5% chance each time the gem is used that the viewer will see an hallucination, see something that is not there, or possibly see something real as if it were an illusion. Now, that is not 5% cumulative per use per day. It's simply each time there's a 5% chance. I have rolled that number once or twice as a DM, and I have to tell you, it's really funny because one time I convinced the players, or convinced the user of the gem, that there was a giant standing in the center of the room that the other players couldn't see. They ate up about 40 minutes trying to figure out where this giant was and what they could do to affect it, when they finally realized that it was probably a misfunction of the gem of seeing. So I had some fun with that. So the reason the spell is better is you can see, for one thing, secret doors, which you cannot see with the gem of seeing. You can see good, bad, or evil coming off a creature, which you cannot see with the gem of seeing. And you cannot see through disguises with the gem of seeing. When gazed through, the gem enables the viewer to see all hidden, illusory, invisible, astral, ethereal, or out-of-phase things within viewing range. So if there's been an argument said that hidden doors or secret doors are hidden doors, therefore I should be able to see the hidden doors. But if you look at the player's handbook, a hidden door is something that's hanging behind hidden behind a tapestry or something. I don't know how this gem would allow you to see that, but a secret door is something that's built into the wall and designed so it's not easily found. I've generally resisted the gem of seeing being able to find secret doors. It's just something that I feel the gem doesn't really give you. The hidden door, I let that be kind of a lesser version of a secret door. So that would just be something that maybe in the framework, and if you a wooden wall, and if you were to notice it, you could pull it out. I don't get real buried in that, but I don't let secret doors be found with this. It's just something that I kind of don't allow. As to the time to scan the area, yes, it takes you a while. And when you see something is out of phase, again, we'll go back to my example of the individual in the displacer cloak. You see him and he's out of phase, but you can't hold this gem to your eye while you're in combat. Therefore, it doesn't do you any good to know he's out of phase. You don't know where he is until you swing at him in combat and you displace him, and then you realize, oh, he's over here. That is also an area where the spell is superior to the actual item. I've had a lot of players not take the spell if they had this item. And I've always found it a curious choice, because while this is an incredibly handy item, it's not the same thing that the spell gives you, and the spell has just a broader everything. So I would take the spell over the item anytime, but the item does have the advantage of multiple uses per day, not taking up a spell slot, that sort of stuff. But the spell doesn't have a 5% chance of showing you something that's not there. Now, granted, it's only 5% in 40 plus years of DMing. I think I've actually rolled that twice. And considering that the gem of seeing is a fairly common item, especially back in the 80s for our group, at higher levels, of course, it's kind of neat that I've actually done it twice. It's just because there had been so many, especially in the 80s when we were playing with as many as 12 and 13 people at the table at one time. which was routine, by the way. After my wife and I got married at our first apartment, our common group was 10, including me as the DM, and it wasn't uncommon for us to get up 13 or 14 crammed in our tiny little kitchen at our first apartment. I've not seen many of those people for many, many years, but a lot of people not only played in our group at the time, but a lot of people brought girlfriends or buddies or whatever who came and went. They'd play with us for a few months, and then the guy and the girl would break up, or the buddy would just get a new job and he'd have to go somewhere else. So we're down now. Obviously, we don't play with 10 and 13 people at the table like I used to run routinely. At that club I belonged to back in the early 80s, it was not uncommon for me to run 13 to 15 people per game each time I DM there, and my record is 24 players and me at the table for my Walpurgis game, and I couldn't talk for about a week after that as I screamed over everybody playing at our table. But that was one of the most memorable games I've ever run. But anyway, back to the topic at hand. So the True Seeing spell definitely has its upside, and there are good reasons to take it, even if you have a Gem of Seeing. And if you don't have a Gem of Seeing, of course, there's even more reasons to take the spell from the cleric, a 5th level spell. So that's all I've got to say on True Seeing. One other interesting thing, there is an Unearthed Arcana spell called Penetrate Disguise. It's a 1st level cleric spell, and that actually allows you to see that someone is disguised, but you can't really see what they look like. You can't tell much about them, just that they're wearing a disguise. So also Gem of Seeing, very interesting, and True Sight and Penetrate Disguise, I would allow to see through the cover given by a Cloak of Elvenkind. So just in case that comes up, that is the way I would rule it. So that's all I've got today from page 121. I hope you liked what you heard and saw. If you did, please like and subscribe. Comments are always welcome. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.